All right, I should be live right now. What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the show. If you're new here, my name is Mitchell. In today's episode, I'll be talking about you do not get love by demanding it. And so I do these YouTube lives every Saturdays at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And if you guys do find this video content of value, you guys can share your appreciation by hitting a like, subscribe, leaving a comment down below. Let me know what you think about it. And if you guys want to further support me, everything is in the description down below. That being said, I'd like to go over a recap episode of what I was talking about before, which is men who understands women. You don't argue with them. You don't argue with women. And, I hear countless times where most guys, they're like, well, or even women as well, they're like, well, arguing is normal. Arguing, like, no, not really. Not really, right? So anyways, the slide is on men and women solve problems differently. Okay. Now, in this entire episode, I would like to give a big shout out to Jordan Peterson. He was the one that inspired me to talk about this episode today. So, big shout out to Jordan Peterson. I want to credit him because, he was the one that inspired me. Anyways, he talked about a quote: in any intellectual confrontation between men, there's an implicit option of settling things with fist. And since it's not an option when arguing with women, men are at a disadvantage. So what that kind of tells you is that men and women solve problems differently. And men are at a disadvantage because they tend not to listen as well. I myself. So the problem with many women now in this world is that here's the issue. The problem with women nowadays is it's hard for them to differentiate difference between male authority with competence versus male tyrannical power. And it's hard for them to differentiate those differences, because it's hard to tell. They can't really tell what's the difference. And so now there's an increasingly dominated amount of people with views of masculinity that's mostly characteristic of women who have terrible personality disorders, who are unable to have a healthy relationship with men. So in other words, most women have horrible views on men because of broken personalities, and a lot of it could stem from growing up from broken homes. Just their environment has caused them to look at men a lot different, and there's not a lot of good men out there. Emily and Nick, hello, how's it going? And so now learning how to communicate is essential in a healthy relationship. So this isn't just me trying to talk about women, because men are involved too. And so I don't want the guys to be like, oh, or the ladies to be like, oh, what about the men and what about the women? It's like it goes for both parties. But then in today's episode, I'm talking mainly about respect and disrespect. Okay, but then we also have to understand that men and women solve problems differently. Maggie, I'm so sorry to hear that. I have two cats myself. They're running around. So, like I said, men and women solve problems differently. Men solve the problem by fixing things, or trying to solve a problem. We're more, in a sense, more efficient. Like, what could take the nail out so that I am no longer hurt? Women, they like to discuss things. They like to talk about it. By talking about it, they feel better, and once they feel better, they can move on about their day. Okay, so what does it tell you about a woman, guys? It tells you that if she needs to talk about something, your number one goal is not to try to solve her problem. Don't ever try to solve a woman's problem. What you should do is listen, ask questions, because the more you ask, the more she talks. The more she talks, the more she feels better. And when she feels better, guess what? Okay. What's up, Crystal? Yeah, everybody, I'm still feeling a little congested, so bear with me. So, the first slide I'll be talking about is love is not an excuse for disrespect. Okay? So, woman can't love a man she does not respect. Hands down, one of the most important factors of a relationship is that a woman cannot love a man she does not respect. Okay? And even if she said she does, but she doesn't fully respect him, love without respect is emotional manipulation. It's like it's not real. It's not genuinely there. It's not real. So because now I flip it back to the guy now. Because a man who does not because a man who is not respected is not going to be loved, and he is merely being tolerated. And he will eventually be replaced by someone who is stronger than him, someone that has more of a masculinity or more of a masculine trait, more masculine core. And women are drawn to strength. That's what they're drawn towards. That's what they're attracted to. And so, what do you do when your woman disrespects you, right? What do you do when woman disrespects you? The number one most important thing is you must set and enforce healthy boundaries. And a lot of people don't really want to do that because, or they try to. One, it's difficult for them. It may be difficult for them to set a boundary because they don't know. They're not even sure if they could enforce it. So why am I bluffing myself? And this really goes down to how much self-respect that you have for yourself. You're like, look, and once you say you had enough, you're like, you know what? I had enough. This is my boundary. If you're going to keep crossing it, what you're saying is I'm going to walk away. And walking away is one of the biggest power move that you could do. One of the best negotiating position is to walk away and actually mean it. And so you got to walk away. Anyways, set and enforce healthy boundaries. You let her know that what she just did, okay, from, men to women, you let her know that what she just did is not very loving. And if she continues to do that, you walk away. And so example is, you could literally just say, what you said is not nice. It's not very loving. And if you continue to talk to me this way, I will not tolerate it. And I'll leave. And then she might call you a bluff or whatever, right? But she needs to respect you. That's the number one most important thing, is that if she does not respect you, she's not going to love you. And if you allow her to continue this form of disrespect, you're basically enabling her behavior, and you're essentially just acquiescing to her manners, basically. And you're teaching her that she could wound you without consequence. And when that happens, you don't just lose yourself. You don't just lose yourself. When that happens, you just don't lose her respect. You also lose yourself. All right. So from a man to another man, if you're a dude and you're watching this, from a man to another man, what exactly are you losing if the only way to keep her is to abandon yourself? What exactly are you losing, right? And so, second slide will be men who understands women. You don't argue with them. A man who respects himself doesn't need to argue with women. You don't. You're like, you know what? This is not a discussion. This isn't a discussion. You're like, you being disrespectful to me, we don't need to discuss that. I don't need to be here for it. Okay, so a man who respects himself, he doesn't argue with women. Man who understands women, you don't argue with them. Like I said before, you could have disagreements. You could agree to disagree. There's compromises here and there, but you don't have to yell at each other. You don't have to be violent with your words. So now, nor does he argue whether or not he deserves respect, because respect is enforced. It is enforced. not by power, by letting her know that, hey, you know what? If you continue to disrespect me, I will walk away and you won't see me again. So he doesn't need to try to convince his value by yelling or screaming, right? He walks away in silence with his actions, because it is better to walk alone with integrity than in a relationship that requires you to beg for your dignity, right? You don't need to beg for self-respect. Like, this is what I'm valued. Like, you don't need to argue that. All you have to do is just walk away. There's a lot of power in just walking away and mean it. And the problem is, you know, the average guy an average guy that sees a beautiful woman, like, he loses all his powers. And it's like, well, when you hypnotized basically with her beauty, you're basically saying that whatever she does, you're okay with. And, you know, there are plenty of guys out there that is willing to tolerate such disrespect just because of a woman's beauty. But then it's like, those are weak men, and you don't want to be one of those weak guys. So, you know, like I said, not what I said, Jordan Peterson, it is better to be alone with integrity than in a relationship that requires you to beg for your dignity, right? Because when you walk away, the silence commands more respect than 1,000 arguments. You shouldn't even have one. You shouldn't even have one argument, okay? You know, like, and I wish I knew more of this sooner, but it's okay. You know, like, I haven't had an argument with my lady, okay? Not one. We had disagreements. I was upset at her, but I didn't argue with her. I basically just conveyed through my words and through my actions that, you know what you just did, I didn't like it. And if it continues to be like this, I'm gonna walk away. Okay. So men who doesn't know any better might say, you know, like I said, like, relationships, you know, people arguing is normal. Like, no, it's not, right? Like, I mean, what is quote unquote considered normal, right? Because back then men hit women and that was the norm. And now it is no longer the norm. So, like, my question to you is, what is really considered normal? I'm here to argue against that, which is, arguing is not a normal behavior to have in a relationship, especially if it constantly happens. You don't need to argue with women, because how I see it is, arguing, you would never win. You just never win. You might win that little argument, but you lose her a little bit every single time. It's like chipping away her interests, her attraction level. It just slowly kind of diminishes. So arguing is not normal, okay? It's not normal. Arguing means that you don't understand her and you're becoming more uncentered as a man. And when you start to deviate from your masculinity, your masculine core as a guy, she views you less of a man, meaning that you're tapping more into your feminine behaviors or feminine energy, and it's causing her to step away and be less attracted to you because of your arguing. Okay, when you argue, when you talk about your feelings a lot, that is feminine energy. And she does not want that dynamic, or she doesn't want that type of dynamic in a relationship, especially if it's consistent, because it's going to cause her to want to step away from you. It's going to ruin that sexual polarity, and she's not going to be attracted to you. Okay. And that's just one thing that you do on top of every other things that you could do as a guy to lose her. And so I'm trying to help you guys out. Don't argue with women. You don't need to argue. You can have disagreements. You can have a backbone. You should have a backbone and be like, I don't agree with that. But if that's what you want to agree with, that's fine. And if those are her values, those are the things that she's like, no, I'm like this, and you have opposing values, you as a guy should be like, you know what? To me, that's a deal breaker. You know, like, you value this and I don't value that. And so because of that, I don't think we're a good match. And so, hey, I might need to, use that door and be like, peace out. And that's okay, because that is the mindset of a guy that has true abundance, if they're willing to walk away. And most guys can't, right? Like I said, to an average looking guy, a beautiful woman is like, it's hypnotizing. He loses his sense of power, his sense of control. And a guy that loses sense of control over a beautiful woman, it's a liability. Because I mean, if a guy can't control his emotions, and when everything kind of gets stirred up, he's a liability too as well. So a guy that cannot control his emotions, his desires, he's considered a liability. So if a woman doesn't care now, if a woman doesn't care if you walk away, then you're probably not very valuable to her in her eyes. Meaning she thinks that she could easily replace you, or that she could just replace you. You're not that special. And in this world nowadays, you don't really see a lot of guys that's willing to put up with a lot, like that's willing to walk away with what she does, especially if it's disrespectful behavior. A lot of guys cannot get up and walk away because they're like, damn, if I don't have you, getting another girl might be really hard. And what if the next person I get isn't as good as this? It's like they start playing this type of story in their head, and they're like, well, shit, you know what? If I just give up a little bit of myself, I can hold on to her. And it's like, no, you won't. Because the moment you start losing yourself, you're not going to like yourself very much. So you need to know your own value. And how do you do that? By working on yourself, by educating yourself, filling in that knowledge gap, knowing that, hey, you know what? These are my values. These are my weak points, and I should work on this. But more people do more to avoid pain than they do to gain pleasure. And so not a lot of people are willing to work on themselves so that they can become better. And it's like, well, so what does that mean about your value? It means that your value begins to diminish more and more as time passes. And, the sooner you pick it up and you work on yourself, the quicker you will start to attract better people into your life. What's up, Bree? So, let's see. So you need to know your own value by knowing that you can always walk away in a relationship if she becomes disrespectful to you. Not that you're gonna use it. Not that you're gonna always use it. Like, you never want to threaten the relationship. I'm not telling you guys to be like, hey, you know what? Oh, if this happens, I'm leaving. Like, don't use it as a weapon. Okay, you're not supposed to use this love as leverage. Okay, it's not a weapon. It's knowing that you can walk away because you value yourself. Because at that moment, you prove your value to her, that your value is and your love is not up for debate. I'm not here to debate on whether or not you should respect me. If she doesn't, I'm out. That's it. You prove that you are a man of standards. By walking away and mean it, you're saying that I'm not desperate to be in this relationship. I choose to be in this relationship because I like your company and I love you. But that time has come to an end, because the moment you started to disregard my feelings and started to disrespect me, I'm out. So that is how you command respect, not demand it. And a lot of people, they misconstrue that and think like, oh, you know what? I need to let her know that she needs to respect me. It's like, nah. It's enforced. It is not demanded. And there's a huge difference. Okay. Excuse me, guys. Give me 1 second. Still recovering. It's been over a week. All right. How's everyone doing? Right. Slide number 3 is the paradox of respect. The paradox of respect. The paradox of commanding respect. Not, in other words, not tolerating her disrespect, right? And when it is earned respectfully through your actions and your words, right? Your words and your action are congruent, and it's allowing her to fall in love with you. That's where love is. Love is allowing. I'm actually sick, and probably a little bit of allergies too. But yeah, it's like if done everything correctly, you set and enforce healthy boundaries, you act more attractive by understanding what being attractive is, she is going to fall in love with you more and more. Now, you have to be sorry. But yeah. Whew. Okay. But basically, as you're more attractive, you're gonna attract better people. That's everything that I've always said before. And so, like I said, when it is earned respectfully through your action, you're allowing her to fall in love with you, and you don't lose yourself, right? And you don't tolerate the disrespect that she's giving to you. What ends up happening is that you don't start to lose her. You don't start to lose women in your life. You start to attract better ones in your life. And woman starts to admire you more. More women will start to admire you more. They learn to appreciate that you're this kind person. You're this kind man, that you're a good man, but a man with boundaries, that you're not gonna let other people easily cross. So women are attracted and drawn to this type of man because attraction is not a choice. Attraction is not a choice. This goes against most, if not all, modern movies that you see, where you see a lot of guys, they're more, they act more like women, and the women act more like a man. So, think of any type of romantic comedy type of movie where the guy's always chasing this girl, and the girl's just kind of like, nah, you know what, and he she acts more like the guy and he acts more like the girl, and that it's all fun and games when you're watching it with all the sound effects and everything, right, building up those emotions. But when you act like that in reality, it just turns her off. It turns her off. So don't believe everything that you see. Now, women are drawn towards genuine strength, masculine strength. Most women, okay? Not all, because there are some women out there that are more masculine, and that's fine too, right? Excuse me. Women are drawn to genuine strength. So, a man that knows who he is not afraid to go after what he wants, that understands her, that understands women, knows how to open her up mentally, is a guy that will get a lot of women in his life. He has a lot of selection. And when he has more selection in his life, women are attracted to that. It just naturally comes with it. And that is why when a guy has a lot of options, there's more women willing to, quote unquote, line up for that than to a weak man. And so it's like, does that make you a player? I don't think it does. I just think that you have choice, the power of choice. You get to choose who is going to be in your life. And that is the reality of that is you get true abundance. So women are drawn to genuine strength, genuine masculine strength. And so it is so important to understand that, okay? A man who loves and respects himself never stays where he is not valued. If a woman says if she ever uttered these 3 words or 4 words, if she ever utters these 4 words, It's a ticking time bomb, okay? It's a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. And it might sound like a little jab, right? It might sound like it's humor or like, like she's just trying to have some fun, but don't allow this. Do not allow this to happen. And I'm pretty sure, ladies, you've said this before, but, and a guy to another guy, if she ever says this, you just got to stop that shit immediately. All right. I know it might sound cute, but you got to stop it immediately. Which is, if a woman ever says, "Oh, if you love me, you would do this. If you love me, you would do that." Okay? Like I said, it might sound a little cute. It might sound like it's, it's all for fun. No, it's not. You got to take this a little bit serious, because it's a ticking time bomb. Because here's the thing, guys. Love is not something that could be leveraged. It is not something that could be leveraged. Love is not supposed to be a test of your obedience. Oh, if you love me, you would do this. It's not supposed to be leveraged. It's not supposed to be a test of your obedience. So, like I said, if she ever utters, "If you love me, you will stop working so much. If you love me, you stop hanging out with your friends as much. If you love me, you will stop buying Pokemon so much." No, okay? I'll do that if I choose to, but I'm not gonna do it because of what you just said to me. Because it never stops at that one thing. It would never stop. It would never stop at that one thing. If you did this, okay, right? It would never stop. And sooner than you know, you find yourself bending into this pretzel to please her. Okay, now you just became this people pleaser. And when you realize it, it's kind of already too late, because you've been shrunk as a man. Okay, now your value is being lowered, chipping away her attraction towards you, basically erasing everything that made you a self-respecting, attractive, independent man that got you hurt in the first place. So, like I said, anytime a woman demands that you prove your love, like if you love me, right? Prove your love by surrendering a piece of your dignity, you are not in a relationship. You are in a psychological war zone. And you are losing. You are losing. So, don't play that game. Do not play that game. Because the moment you start proving your love through submission, you abandon your own purpose. And a man that loses his purpose basically loses everything for himself, right? You start to diminish your own self-worth and your own value. And the moment you teach someone that your love is conditional on your submission, you basically spend the rest of your life proving to someone who would never be satisfied. And so you do not want to play that game. If you love me, like, you got to cut that bullshit. You got to cut. Oh, it's just fun. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. I don't like it. And if you continue to use that, there's going to be some consequences, and I don't like it. I'm letting you know that right now. Don't play that game with me. I don't like that game. We play other games. I don't like this game. So, hear me out, guys. Hear me out. Women don't want the power in the relationship. They don't. They want you to have the power in a relationship. And when I say power, I'm not talking about male tyrannical power. Okay, I'm not saying like you got to be controlling, you got to be like, you need to wear this, you need to do that. Like, that's not love. That's controlling, right? And so she doesn't want a controlling guy. No woman on this earth wants a controlling guy. She wants a competent man. And there's a huge difference between a competent guy versus a controlling man. A competent guy is secure, understands who he is. He understands her, understands himself. He knows where he's going. That's leadership. And there's certain things that he is not willing to tolerate. And he will let her know that if she continues to do that, he will walk away. That is not controlling. That is saying that, you know what, that goes against my values. I know where I'm going. I want to go there regardless of whether or not you want to be with me. I love you. I care about you. But if you're going to disrespect me, out you go. But I do care about you and I do love you. I don't know how you treated other men previously in life, but that's not gonna, that shit's not gonna fly with me. And so if you're willing to change that permanently, then you could join me for this ride over here, because I think you're gonna like it. You're gonna have a good time with me. That is more of a competent guy than a guy that says, oh no, you gotta stop doing this. It's like, yeah, then you're just demanding respect. And like, you don't get respect by demanding it. You don't. Okay. I always feel like it gets easier as time goes, and it doesn't. Now, my last slide is when she shows you her level of respect through her words. When she shows you her level of respect through her words, you gotta believe her. Okay, you have to believe her. What was that quote that Maya Angelou said? When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Okay? So, believe her. If you choose to stay with someone hoping that they will change, that quote unquote love hurts sometimes, and you try to rationalize and justify her actions, the only person that will change in that outcome is you. And you probably won't like it very much, and you won't like the person that you become. Okay? If you got to lose a little bit of yourself, your dignity, so that you could please her, it's not really a relationship. Okay? So really, what exactly are you holding on to if you got to lose yourself? Excuse me. Because respect is the foundation of attraction. Respect is the foundation of attraction. It is not it's not a preference. It's a foundation. You need respect in a relationship for her to fall in love with you. And being in love without respect is emotional manipulation. It's not real. It's not genuine. Why are you really there in that relationship? Maybe you want something out of it, right? Emotional manipulation. So it is not a preference, because women are hardwired to seek out men they admire, that leads and are congruent with the words and action. And so that's why anytime you talk, anytime you say something to her, you got to mean it and you got to follow through with action. The more you do that, the more she could trust you. If you say something and you do it, and you do it more often, she's going to believe the things that you say, right? You don't want to be that boy cried wolf, right? And so this is the type of man that she trusts, that she feels safe and comfortable to open up, basically opening her up, her feminine energy, without fear of being judged. So she can feel safe to come to you, to talk to you, to open up, to communicate with you when things go south and something's not right. She understands that, damn, I could open up to Mitchell. Like, damn, like I never had this in the past relationship. Something's different about him. Why? Because I make it feel safe and comfortable for my girl to come to me. I let her know that if there's ever anything that you feel, I don't care if it's irrational, I don't care if it sounds crazy, what you feel is what you feel. And if I think it's crazy, I'd be like, did you forget to take your medication? No, I wouldn't say that. But I would be like, look, whatever you feel, it is important to me, because how you feel is going to basically move you on throughout the day. And I want you to, and life is too short. Basically, I'm conveying to her that life is too short to be miserable all the time. And I want you to feel safe and comfortable to come to me, to open up, And when I say that, I have to back that shit up. So when she does come to me, I'll be like, what's going on, babe? What's going on? What's on your mind? Talk to me. And I sit and I listen and I don't do anything else. I don't try to solve her problems. And that is how she feels safe and comfortable to come talk to me. All right. So if your woman ever does that and she comes to you for a problem and you listen to her, you're going to stand out way more than 97% of the guys out there that's trying to solve her problems. Because you're conveying through action that you're willing to listen, that you understand her, and she feels safe and comfortable around you to open up. And when her mind's open, guess what else opens? Okay. And so this is a man she trusts. She feels safe. She feels comfortable. And that is a man she will respect. And that is a man she's going to fall in love with. So disrespect never starts out high. Okay. It's never this, blatant, like high volume type of disrespect. It's little jabs here and there that you allow. Okay. And sooner than you know it, you find yourself constantly trying to defend yourself. So when a woman or anyone, okay, shows you who they are, believe them. This goes for the disrespect she may test that she might throw at you, right? For example, it's like little things like, hey, stupid. And you're like, yeah. It's like, no, like, be like, that was rude. Like, what made you think that was okay? What made you think that was okay? Oh, it's just fun. Learn to have some fun. No, absolutely not. No, okay? And you don't just pretend nothing happens when she says something like that. Or another one is, there's something I've witnessed. It's like, oh, can't you tell people are talking? Like, hush. It's like, okay. And then, the guy just kind of sat there and just like kind of took it. And I was like, damn, I wish I could say something. I'd be like, hey, there's no need for that. Like, I wanted to say that. I was there. I witnessed it. Hey, can't you tell people are talking? Hush. Right? And she said it in this kind of like non-threatening way, where I'm like, hey, that, I could have just, I wanted to, but it was not my place. It was not my place. There's no need for that. There's no need for that. Everyone's just having a good time. Boom. Right? But anyways, like I said, not my place. Like there's certain things that, like, if it's not my place, I'm not gonna put my values into somewhere where, like, it's not my place. But anyways, right? Like little things like that, like, hey, stupid, can't you tell someone's talking? Hush. Like, be careful with that little mocking and belittlements, because there's a huge difference. And there's a huge difference between humor and contempt. Okay? And you must correct that shit 10 out of 10 times, not 9 out of 10 times, 10 out of 10 times. You just gotta stop that shit, because she needs to know that if she disrespects you, you will walk away and never look back. You walk away and never look back. And that being said, guys, that is the end of the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So there will be the summary, okay, that I'll be talking about right now. So if you guys have any questions, leave in a comment down below. That being said, the summary. First slide was, love is not an excuse for disrespect. Love without respect is emotional manipulation, because a man who is not respected is not going to be loved. He is tolerated, and he will eventually be replaced. He will be replaced. Men who understands women don't argue with them. He doesn't need to try to convince his value by yelling or screaming or being, loud. He walks away in silence with his actions. And that's after you let her know. You be like, look, if you're gonna continue this, that's just not gonna fly with me. Because it is better to be alone with integrity than in a relationship that requires you to beg for your dignity. Okay. And number slide number 3 was the paradox of respect. The paradox of commanding respect, basically not tolerating her disrespect. What ends up happening is you don't start to lose women. You start to attract better ones in your life. Women will start to admire you. They learn to appreciate that you're a kind person, and you're a good man that has boundaries, and that's you're not gonna like cross. Meaning you got a backbone. Because it conveys to her that if you're not willing to tolerate disrespect from her, you're not gonna tolerate disrespect from other people. And I know a lot of guys, it's crazy to me. Like there's certain people that I do know out there that I don't really communicate with much, at least anymore. It's like once they find out that, oh, maybe this person makes this much more money, it's like, damn, they kind of like, they're not really themselves. Oh, they got a lot of money, so I could probably do X. I need to, kind of lose myself a little bit so that they could see more value in me. It's like, no, absolutely not. I don't give a shit how much you fucking got. I don't care what kind of power you have. It's like, you're gonna respect me. And if you don't, I don't have to fuck with you, basically. It's like, I don't care what you got. It does not matter. And that's just from a man to a man. Now imagine a man to a woman, a beautiful woman in front of him, and he's like, look, I don't care how pretty you are, your shit still stinks, your breath still smells in the morning, you still put on pants one leg at a time. It's like, you're no different. And when you realize that all that little fairy dust that kind of like fall in your face, it's like, look, they're just a normal person. They're just a normal person, okay? And so women start to admire you a little bit more when you hold certain standards for yourself. And slide number 4 is when she shows you her level of respect through her words, you got to believe her, okay? If you choose to stay with someone hoping that they will change, that quote unquote love hurts sometimes, and you try to rationalize and justify her actions, the only person that will change is you. The only person that will change is you, and you're not going to like the person you become. All right. So don't lose yourself. So the number one most important thing throughout this whole slide or this whole presentation is, and most people lose this, is remember who you are before you got into a relationship. Remember who you are and continue to work on yourself and become more than you are, so that you are more grounded, especially as a guy. You're more grounded as a guy, and that you understand yourself more and more, that you're not willing to tolerate certain disrespects, and you're more grounded. And the more grounded you are, the more she could trust you as a guy. So what does that mean? It also means that what you say and what you do must be congruent. Okay, what you say and what you do must be congruent, because if you're not, you're gonna be tested more, and the more tests she throws at you, the more difficult the test will come, especially if you start failing it. If you start failing each test becomes more and more difficult. And so it's kind of like this snowball effect. And it's like, well, you have to understand, like, these are certain things that if she throws at you, you gotta cut that shit out 10 out of 10 times. All right, not 9 out of 10, not 8 out of 10. It has to be 10 out of 10 times, because if you continue to allow it, it never just stops at that one thing, right? So that being said, guys, I hope you guys found value in this video. And if you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, share it to your friends. And I'll catch you guys in the next live episode next week. All right, take it easy. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.